Alright, the second video here for section 1-2 in your trigonometry book is going to be applications of what we talked about in the first video, which was vertical angles, corresponding angles, alternate interior, alternate exterior, consecutive interior, and consecutive interior, or exterior. It says, find the measures of angles 1, 2, 3, and 4, given that lines L and M are parallel. So, we are given some information here about angles 1 and 4. So what we need to do is we need to think to ourselves, okay, anytime we have a parallel line and a transversal, it's going to make basically two different angles, an acute angle and an obtuse angle, like we talked about on the last slide before we got into these application problems. Notice that they've given us information about angles 1 and 4. Well, angle 1 and angle 4 are equal because they're both green. In this case, it's really because they're alternate exterior angles, but that is less than important. What's important is that you can recognize that the measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 4 because they are congruent. Now, what that means is that we can plug in the measure of angle 1, which is 3x plus 2, and set it equal to the measure of angle 4, which is 5x minus 40. That is a very simple algebraic problem. We need to move the x's to one side. Say we decide we're going to subtract 3x from each side. And we need to add 40 to each side to move the number to the opposite side. That would give us 42 equals 2x, and then we would divide by 2 to give us x equals 21. Now, we are not done. We're not done because we've not answered the question. The question was, find the measures of angles 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to take the x value and we're going to find the measure of angle 1 first, which is 3x plus 2. That's 3 times 21 plus 2, which would be 65 degrees. Now that's the green angle. So right away we should be able to say, oh, well, the measure of angle 3 is also 65 degrees because that's also a green angle in my picture. And the measure of angle 4 is 65 degrees because that is also a green angle in my picture. Now as for angle 2 is the supplement of angle 1. So if angle 1 is 180, then angle 2 is 180 minus 65. Which would be 115 degrees. So the measure of angle 2 is 115 degrees, and I have answered the question. I found the measures of all four angles. Let's do another one. Find the measures of angles 1, 2, 3, and 4, given that lines L and M are parallel. So again, as soon as we start, we should notice that 4 of those angles are obtuse, and 4 of those angles are acute. The 4 obtuse angles are equal, the 4 acute angles are equal. Now, we are given information about angles 2 and 3. Well, the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 has to be 180 degrees. And the reason for that is because they are consecutive interior angles. But again, that is not important. It is not important that you can name what kind of angles they are. What is important is that you know the property, that they have to add up to 180. And what it boils down to is we have a green angle that we know something about, and we have a pink angle that we know something about. And we said if we have one of each, they have to add up to 180. So the measure of angle 2 is 9x plus 9 degrees. And the measure of angle 3 is 7x minus 5 degrees. Plug those values in, and you have yourself an equation. Combine like terms on the left side of your equation. 9x plus 7x is 16x. 9 plus negative 5 is positive 4. From here, it is a two-step equation. We would subtract 4 from each side, which would give us that 16x equals 176. And then we would divide by 16, which would give us that x is 11. Now, x does not answer the question, just like the last one. So we start by saying, okay, the measure of angle 2 is 9x plus 9. That would be 9 times 11 plus 9. So the measure of angle 2 is 108 degrees. Now I know that in the picture it appears that angle 2 is the acute angle. That just means we can't trust the picture. We're probably fine as long as when we find the measure of angle 3, it is an acute angle. So let's see. That would be 7x minus 5, or 7 times 11 minus 5, meaning that the measure of angle 3 would be 72 degrees. Perfect. That works out because 108 and 72 add up to 180. All right. So then we just have to ask ourselves, well, what about angles 4 and 1? Well, 4 and 1 are both pink, which means they have the same measure as the other pink angle, angle 3. So angle 1 is 72 degrees, and angle 4 is 72 degrees. And that is how we approach parallel lines and transversal problems.